So today you're going to learn tackling your digital photo organizing like a pro. And here are the pros you're going to learn from. Diana is the owner of OXO Digital Organizing. She's a certified photo and visual and vital document organizer living in Orlando. Her focus is on helping her clients with complex family collections. She consults with estate planners, divorce attorneys, and other advisors to address family photos as legacies to be preserved. So she's a great teacher to join us today. And also Sylvia. She's the owner of Photos Organized. She's also a certified photo manager who specializes in remote digital photo management. She's the mom to 5 kids, and she also has been doing this for over 10 years. And she, again, offers online remote digital photo organizing and online training to all levels. So I will let them take it from here. Enjoy. You're going to learn a lot from both Sylvia and Diana as they help you get your arms around this complex problem, organizing your digital photos.
Thanks, Kathy. Sylvia and I are so excited that you and Steve are opening up the conversation about tackling digital photos. There's a lot to cover, so let's get started. How many of you out there are overwhelmed with all the digital photos you have? Are you frustrated trying to find a photo? Do you ever worry about your precious memories getting lost in an instant? Well, that's all understandable, and you're not alone. Even the most tech savvy can get bogged down with all the options. Technology has made it easier for us to enjoy our photos, but at the same time can turn our collections into a digital disaster. Some of you may be trying to organize a multi-generational collection that is spread across dozens of devices, while others may be just concerned with more recent photos that are sitting on your phones. Fortunately, the process you need to go through is essentially the same. So we are here to help you think like a pro. By following a systematic approach, you will be able to create a system that works. Sylvia will be taking you through her 5 levels of digital photo organization, which she developed to guide her through organizing projects big and small. Each level has corresponding tasks that will show you how to break it all down and allow you to decide what needs to be done and what doesn't. Keep in mind the terminology may vary from expert to expert, but the key principles are the same. Then we'll look at actual client scenarios that use some or all of the levels to make their collections work for them. Lastly, we'll give you clear next steps to move forward and kick off your project right.
Thanks, Diana. Hi, everyone. It's Sylvia, and I'm so happy to be here, and I'm glad that you're with us too. What's the level system of digital photo organization? The name is long, but the premise is very simple. It's a systematic approach used to organize and manage digital photos by combining 2 major concepts. The first concept is that the big picture of digital photo organization can be broken down into specific chunks. We call those chunks levels. The second concept is that when it comes to digital photo organization, the key question to ask yourself is, what do you really need to get the outcome you really want? We call this your functional space. I know that can trip some people up, so let's look at functional space a little closer. According to yourdictionary.com, the definition of functional is something that is useful for its intended purpose. They give the example of a saw that is made for cutting being functional if it can cut well. For our purposes, I say that your digital photo organization is functional if it manages your photos well for you. You'll want to keep this concept of functional being tied to usefulness as we go forward. Your functional space is a reality check with yourself, and it's about figuring out what's it going to take for your digital photos to be truly useful for you. It takes into account your lifestyle, such as how much time do you have to devote to your photo system, and who else needs access to your photos. What are your photo habits, such as what devices and apps do you use? Your photo goals, for example, why do you take photos, and what do you want to be able to do with them? And finally, how comfortable are you with technology? And what kind of technology do you have? All these things impact what will work for you so that your digital photos can be useful or functional for you. So I know this is a little abstract, but it's really important to getting your photos organized in a lasting way. Now let's go back to the level system. and the two main concepts again. As you are hopefully starting to put together here, it's about both the levels and the functional space that brings success to your digital photo life. One without the other is only half the picture, no pun intended. Using this system, you too can get digital photo organization results that are spot on and long lasting. Now we're ready to talk about the levels. There are 5 levels or main parts to digital photo organization. Level 1, entry. Level 2, explore. Level 3, empower. Level 4, enjoy. Level 5, established. I think it's helpful to stop here and look at an analogy. Think of a hotel with 5 floors. You start out in the lobby and take the elevator to go to the next floor up. You stop at that floor and you can choose to get off and then get back in the elevator at any time to go to a different floor. That's how it is with the level system. Level 1 is the lobby, and after you check in there, you go to the next level that helps your digital photos be useful to you. You do the work on that level and then either stay there or get back in the elevator to the next level. But you only get back in the elevator if you need that next level for your photos to be functional for you. There's only one caveat, and that is that everybody gets a free pass to the penthouse, and I'll explain that later. For now, let's step into the lobby together, aka Level 1. Level 1 is your entry into digital photo organization. Here, we lay the foundation for your digital photo organizing journey. The focus is on activities for you to have peace of mind and control when it comes to your digital photos. There are 4 activities in Level 1. Assess and plan. Assess is where you get real and do the work to figure out your functional space. You address your lifestyle, photo habits, photo goals, tech comfort, and you also do an inventory to know things like how many photos do you have? Where do they live? What are the formats? In addition to anything else related to your digital photo life. When done properly, this evaluation leads to developing a personalized plan that includes the new overall digital system and workflow and the activities needed to get there. Assess and plan are useful and important activities if you want to lay a solid foundation for the rest of your project and want to set on a course for a successful outcome. Backup. It's simple. This is where you make strategic copies of your digital photos. It's the single most important thing you must do if you want to keep them. Pro tip, 3-2-1 rule. 3 copies on 2 different media or devices, with one being off-site, preferably the cloud. My favorite cloud backup is Backblaze, hands down. For just $6 a month or $60 a year, you can get it started on your Mac or PC in under 5 minutes, and it automatically and continuously backs up your computer and unlimited data from external hard drives. Gather. Gather refers to grabbing all your digital photos from all their current places and putting them in one place. This is useful so that you can work with your photos more easily. Deduplicate. Deduplicate is the process of identifying and removing identical or very similar images. This activity is useful if you want to declutter your collection. Pro tip. There are good tools to help make this process easier and quicker. My favorites are Photo Sweeper for Mac and Duplicate Cleaner Pro for PC. As you can see, Level 1 entry gives your digital photos a firm foundation. You have a reality-based plan, a backup, you've gathered all your photos into one place, and you may have even removed some duplicates. That's awesome right there as it is. And if that serves your purposes and makes your digital photos useful and functional for you, then you're set. However, if you need a bit more control over your digital photos to be functional, let's get back in the elevator to Level 2. Level 2 allows you to explore the solid foundations for digital photo organization. The focus is on activities that will help you find and view your digital photos with ease. We take the collection of photos from level 1 and transform it into a library of photos that has a skeletal structure and organizational framework, which consists of folders and/or albums. Let's look at the activities available in level 2. Consolidate. This involves taking all your digital photos and putting them under one designated permanent photo hub. Your hub is the specific folder or place where your originals live. This is also usually the time when a photo management program may be used as the brains to control your photos in the hub. The consolidate activity is useful if you want to have ongoing control over your digital photos. Pro tip: after backup, having a photo hub is the second most important thing you can do for your digital photos. Core file structure. If you want to give your photos order so that you can search for them by that structure, then this is for you. A core file structure is still considered a basic form of organization, and the simplest form is chronological, but certainly not the only one. Renaming files. This is when you change the file name to something that makes sense to you. The benefit of renaming your photos is that it becomes a standalone file that is easily identifiable, independent from any other folder or album. By the end of level 2, you have gone from a collection of photos to a library of photos that is consolidated and searchable. And if that helps your digital photos be useful to you, then you're golden. But again, if you need to get even more control out of your digital photos to make them functional for you, then let's get back in the elevator up to level 3. Level 3 gets you empowered to rock your digital photo organization. In this level, we will soar higher and fine-tune the details of your digital photo organization, giving a higher level of control to those who want it. We are going to look at the 4 most common activities that let you manage your digital photos in an empowered way. Keywords. Keywords are the digital version of the handwriting on the back of a printed photo. Keywords can be useful to you if you like to search for your photos on the fly, Google style. And more importantly, they can be embedded into the metadata of the file. And I just read somewhere that metadata is a love note to the future. And I really like that. Face tags. Face tags is identifying and attaching the person's name to their face in a photo. Faces can be useful if you like to find your photos by the people in them. Date adjustments. Date adjustments refer to digitally fixing the date on a photo because the date in the metadata is not the right date. This is usually caused by the wrong camera date, or printed photos that were scanned, or the correct date being stripped as the photo has been passed from one app to another. Date adjustments can be useful to you if you rely on a chronological order to your photo library for searching and for the story. Ratings. Ratings allow you to evaluate your photos. You get to choose which photos you like best, and if you want, which you like least. Ratings are useful in so many ways, and I highly recommend them, especially if you're drowning in digital photos. They help you remove the distractions so you can see the story, and more importantly, perhaps, future generations can see the story. This leads us right into level 4, enjoy. Many people want to be able to enjoy their photos more, and as photo managers, we hear that a lot. A big part of being able to enjoy your digital photos more is for the enjoy part to be built into your overall digital photo management plan. It has to be part of your digital workflow by design, because if not, it can create messes and derail your system. That's why enjoy is here as an integral part of the level system. Level 4 activities include anything you can imagine that you want to do to enjoy your photos. In the interest of time, I won't go into each one of these, but here are a few. Print, share, projects and gifts, display and showcase, including digital, of course. Pro tip. Printing your photos is still the safest backup, and so I encourage you to print your most precious photos always. That takes us to the last level, level 5, established, aka the penthouse. Established is having a routine that you follow regularly and consistently to stay on track. This includes a scheduled time on your calendar, preferably monthly, and a simple checklist. As technology changes and as your needs change, you get to tweak the process so that your digital photo system remains useful to you. Established is useful for everyone. That's why everyone gets a free pass to the penthouse. Unless you are never going to take another photo in your life or inherit photos from others, embrace staying established. It's like the vitamins you give to your photo library to keep it going strong and healthy. In return, it will continue to be useful to you and give you peace of mind. Okay, so we've covered all 5 levels that make up the digital photo organization level system. The main thing I want you to take away from our time together is that you only need the levels and activities that help your digital photos be functional for you. You are in charge, and you get to decide what is useful for your purposes, whatever they may be. Once you're clear on that, you can look at the levels and activities as a sort of menu. You can pick what will serve you in your digital photo life and let go of the rest, understanding that there's this overarching process with best practices to guide you going from each level to the next. So let's recap. The level system lets you tackle your digital photos in a systematic way to make them useful to you. There are 2 concepts that work hand in hand to make this happen. First, there are 5 levels to break down the project into manageable parts. But since digital photo organization is not a one-size-fits-all, to be successful, you need to take into account your functional space, which is your lifestyle, photo habits and goals, and tech comfort. Then you focus on the levels and activities that make your digital photos functional or useful for your purposes. That's when you'll get the results you really want, with the peace of mind in a sustainable way. To help illustrate this further, Diana is going to walk us through some real-life examples and wrap it up for us before we take your questions. Thank you.
I know that's a lot to process. Remember, this is only an overview, so sit back and let it all sink in while we take a look at some real-world examples. First, we have Brenda and Jim. This project was not focused on their photos, but rather Jim's father's. After Jim's dad passed away, their biggest challenge was dealing with all the photos they found as they cleaned out his home. He was an avid photographer and had already had all of his old photos scanned. In addition to his computer, they found numerous CDs and USB drives. Not only is it important to consolidate and back up, the photos needed to be shared with about 8 other family members, and Brenda had some gift ideas. This project needed most of level 1, and then we jumped right to level 4 to share. Because of time and financial constraints, each family member simply got an external hard drive with all the photos. Brenda also chose individual images to create gifts to commemorate her father-in-law's love of photography. Next, we have Rebecca. Her story is one I will never forget. Her scanned albums and scrapbooks, along with the photos on her iMac, were the last part of her life to declutter. She decided to keep it simple, manage current life pics in Apple Photos, and her old family memories, most of which had been scanned, in a simple folder structure on an external hard drive. We implemented a backup via cloud service, and that was in addition to her existing time machine. We consolidated and cleaned up some extraneous Apple libraries and made sure everything looked good. This was a pretty straightforward job, and she seemed pleased, but that wasn't the last I heard from Rebecca. About 2 years later, I got an incredible email of gratitude. She shared the story of how after Hurricane Irma passed through Orlando and her power was restored to their home, a fire was sparked in the kitchen that quickly got out of control and consumed the entire house. No one was hurt, but they did lose everything they owned. Most upsetting was the loss of the scrapbooks she had made for her girls when they were young. With the shock of everything, she actually took about a week or so to remember that everything was preserved in the cloud. She was able to restore her Apple libraries and the scrapbooks she had created. Instead of sharing the news with her daughters immediately, she kept it under wraps. She used Shutterfly to recreate the scrapbooks and ended up giving them as gifts for Christmas that year. As you can imagine, they were overjoyed. So Rebecca handled level 1 and 2, and most importantly, she kept up with her maintenance plan in level 5, which is ultimately what saved the day. Level 4 only came into play afterwards when she created those incredible gifts for her girls. If anyone needs a reason to at least do level 1 and 5, this is it. Lastly, we have Donna. Donna is a party planner. When she came to us, she had both personal and business photos to deal with. There were scanned pictures of layouts and schematics that she used to showcase previous jobs. For Donna, keywording and ratings were her favorite piece. Understanding how she wanted to search by theme, color, or event type allowed us to apply the right keywords to her collection. Now, in a matter of seconds, she can show a potential client the perfect example to close the deal. And her favorites are easily available for advertising and social media. Interestingly enough, it wasn't until we started reviewing the levels of organization that she realized all the potential benefits to having a searchable collection. For Donna, every level was applied, but it wasn't difficult. We simply needed to apply the right features to her already consolidated photos. Remember, everybody's situation is different. All that matters is that your digital photo organization works for you. So the level that gets you there is okay. And if you can only do one level, do level 1. Now it's time for you to get to work. In a way, you've already started level 1 by being here today. So to continue building on that, we've created a level snapshot to help you with your assessment of the tasks that you need to address, and a device checklist to help you as you gather photos from multiple sources. If you're a do-it-yourselfer, you can keep on learning. Steve actually has 2 more webinars in this series. One will focus on the Apple ecosystem, the other on solutions for Android and PC users. Others may want to outsource. Maybe you don't have the time or frankly aren't interested in implementing this yourself. In that case, go to thephotomanagers.com and find a professional photo organizer near you. If you don't find someone physically nearby, remember that many can work remotely. And the photo managers happen to be a really close-knit group. We all know each other and we're happy to connect you with the right person. If you're looking for more of a hybrid solution, you can do that too. Even if you don't plan to outsource everything, sometimes a little bit of guidance is all you need. Either way, you can tackle your digital photos like a pro. Thank you everyone for joining us today. I know the DottoTech and Graywave community is a fun group, so Sylvia and I are looking forward to joining you for some Q&A.
Dokie, if I can get Sylvia and Diane to turn on with the Q&A. Got a bunch of questions. Sorry about the challenges off the very top. Still, after all these years, learning about better ways to use Demio. So here's the audio issue today was in the output of the original, which was sometimes happens. Sometimes we just output the video with low audio. But I actually have, because of the way that Demio plays everything back, I actually have an on-screen control in my window that I can turn up the volume on my YouTube feed, which in turn, I believe, increased everybody else's volume. The challenge was that as the chat refreshes, this is one of these first world problems because we're using a browser-based tool. As the chat refreshed, the browser window refreshed. So as people were saying, I can't hear, every time you said I can't hear, my browser window refreshed, and you can imagine it flickered. And it took a second then for the mouse to get through to the audio control, which is why I accidentally muted us all for a few minutes. And it wasn't until I figured I could turn off the chat, go to another window so that my browser window remained stable, and I could nicely turn up the volume for everybody, and everybody was happy. There we go. It's a live and learn moment today. It's always a voyage of discovery doing webinars. Ladies, that was awesome. What a good, well thought out tutorial. You put me to shame with the quality of my normal videos. I'm not sure I'm going to have you guys back on again because you make me look bad with all of the other work that I do. So thank you so much for that. That was awesome and so well structured. I guess that's the nature of your life, is you guys have to be pretty, are you like organized in every aspect of your life? Is that part of the DNA of the photo organizer?
I wouldn't say every part of our life, but
more than mine?
Many parts, yes.
Probably.
Well, I don't know, but some of it comes out of just trial and error. I mean, you know, I think was after organizing my own life with kids, then and photos, then you decide to start sharing that.
So we got a lot of questions that people were putting through. So I'm going to go through them, and if you guys can just help us out with them as we go along. Just some housekeeping details. A lot of people were asking about the replay. Demio's recording the entire webinar. We send out an email to everybody who's registered tomorrow morning with all of the resources. So if you didn't pick up any links that were talked about, all of those resources and the webinar replay will be sent out to you tomorrow morning. You've got 2 days to watch that replay at your leisure. You can share it with others if you want. And then after that, it'll be archived for our patrons in the DottoTech webinar archives. So our patrons can watch it at any point they want in the future. But the replay is sent out tomorrow morning, and the replay is always good. One nice thing about how Demio works is even if we have any issues with the replay, they've got they record it in enough locations that they fix it up. Sometimes it means a delay of a few hours before we can send out the replay. But the replay, even if other people are having technical issues, it is always fine. And so you will get access to it, because I know a lot of you want to go through it slowly and work your way through it. So let me jump in. And the structure that you guys gave was like, give me a frame of reference. It seems, do most people when they want to organize their photos realize how big a job it's going to be?
I would say not usually. And sometimes it's just a conversation that needs to be had. So I would rather people think about all these elements and then decide what they're going to do from
I think
there.
when I saw all of the steps that you go through, I kind of went, oh, this is more of a commitment than I realized. And I probably did realize it, but it's like I didn't really. It's like doing your accounting. It's like, oh, really? I've got a lot of work to do, and it's kind of there's a better warm and fuzzy at the end, unless you get a big refund. But it was like, oh gosh, I realize how far behind I am. So let's start with the questions. Bob is asking. He's asking, let's see, how does this going to display? Oh, it's going to be right over top of one of you, so that's all awesome. You suggest, do you suggest using Google Photos and Sync as a free, easy backup as a part of your 4.3 or as a part of your 3.2.1 backup?
Sylvia, correct me. I am not as familiar with Sync.
Yeah,
I think
it's a
that's
Canadian backup.
Canada,
so it's similar to Dropbox. It would be almost identical to a Dropbox. It's got a little more privacy protection than a Dropbox, but it's basically you have a synced folder and it's going to do your photo backup automatically. Or Box would be another one. So any of those, Box, Sync, Dropbox, and Google Photos. I think the question there is Google Photos a valuable member of this backup group?
I mean, I will say maybe just as photo organizers, most of us are not going to Google Photos, because if you think about it, a lot of us are taking a lot of time and effort to scan portions of our clients' collections at really high resolution. So a solution that might be degrading that is not what we're going to jump to. Doesn't mean that it's not a good fit for some people, but I don't think many of us maybe
your
jump to
concern
that.
with Google Photos is more along the lines that it degrades the quality of the photo to high resolution from whatever, if you were scanning in a higher resolution, more than any of the structural or organizational capabilities of Google. Your issue is that it degrades, that it has a lower common file format.
That's what I would jump to, Sylvia. I mean,
Yeah.
And then,
Okay, so with Google Photos, that is one of the considerations. So, but backing up to the original question, is that something, is that one of,
Yeah.
was it Bob who asked the question? Okay, so Bob, I agree with the way you asked the question, and the answer to the way you asked it is yes. So it's not one of the main forms of backup, but people that come to us or come to me, I want to say, that have Google Photos already or Amazon Photos, these are folks that what I tell them is that's a great like extra piece in the puzzle, but it's not the main one. It's not considered a true backup. And it's more for syncing, for
For
convenience,
sharing.
for that kind of thing. And the way I think of it, for sharing, absolutely, for sharing.
Mhm.
And that I'm glad you said that, because the way I process this when clients come over and they've got photos in those individual places already, what I think of is there's this thing, I call it IHO, but I'm going to explain that. It's I for input, H for hub, and O for output. So in the assessment process, which is that first step in level one, we're looking at where are all their photos now, and we need to establish that hub, right? That's one of the purposes if that's what's going to serve them. So an input, wherever the inputs are, we're going to get those. Usually it's a photo on the phone or a camera or scanned images or text or an email, wherever the photos are coming from. All those inputs are there. And so think about the hub as if you take a piece of paper and you just draw a circle in the middle. I don't know if you could see that. And then you've got the inputs over here. The inputs are, I guess here
Okay.
they're showing up the other way here. So these are your inputs. And then you have little highways going over to your hub. And those highways are how the photos are going to get from your input, from where they're born, to the hub. The hub, then you have outputs. And those are the things that you're sharing, you're printing, whatever the fun stuff that you're doing, those are your outputs. So what you want to do is get your inputs over to your hub, protect your hub, secure your hub, back up your hub. That's the center of truth. That is your point of truth. And that is what you have to maintain, the integrity and the protection. And maybe not all your inputs go into your hub, but definitely your keepers. And what's important is that these lines here, if you can make them as automatic as possible, that's going to make you more likely to succeed, because everybody's busy, and things that if they can happen more automatically, you're in better shape. Then in your hub, you clean it out and you back it up and you do your organization and all that. Then what you have left are these outputs. I would consider Google Photos a form of output because it's part of your sharing. And that way, you make sure the integrity, your originals are
Yep.
in here, wherever this is here, and you can make sure that they are protected no matter what happens to Google later. And when you're in Google and you want to play, you can play, because you know that if you follow this workflow of input to hub to output, anything in the output area is fair game to play. You don't have to worry about, did it make it in my hub? Is it protected? Is it a duplicate? Just if you follow that, if whenever possible, that's the safe
So the
bet
whole
to
idea
do.
is to make
It's a
sure
good
that everything makes
best
it into the
practice.
hub, and that's if you have a minimum viable product for your clients,
Exactly.
getting it into the hub is number one. That's your initial duty to them as a success if you get them in the hub.
Exactly. And backed up, because that's what you're going to back up, and you're easy to focus on backup because
Yes.
it's all in one
So
place
Bob
now.
has a
And
kind of a related question,
yeah.
which I will paraphrase. He's asking whether the different cloud backup services, Amazon Prime, Blaze, Dropbox, if you is one of more supportive on privacy and do any services on your own. You found it to be more supportive. Basically, he's asking kind of, I think, if you have a preference of any of those. But I'll add to that. What's your, if people are want to research and start thinking about a hub, what would be the preferential one for each of you? Which one do you think people should be? And is it different based on our operating system?
That's a great question. And it really, there's no one size fits all to the hub,
Mhm.
but that is the key. But the thing about the hub is and this is important, when people think about, I've got to organize my photos, and they think about the tool, the hub, the photo management program, those kinds of things, that's not where we start, because that makes you kind of retrofit your needs into that, and that may not be the right solution. So if instead you come from a point of, what do I need? What do I want to accomplish with my photos? And then look at what's available and say, yes, that checks it off, that checks it off, that checks it off, that doesn't. And then you kind of land, and then you take a sample. You don't have to do this, but this is what I would do, is you take a sample and you play with 100 photos in that, if you're looking at a photo management plan, but the photo management program. The photo management program is really the brains that controls your hub.
So if you, I think I can, if you are a somebody who's into genealogy and you're going to be collecting photos, and those sources are archive photos from others and a whole bunch of different people who are going to be emailing you photos, so you're collecting it together. For those sorts of people, the hub might be different than somebody who's just looking at, who takes, like me, I take 1 million pictures of fish because I'm fishing all the time. And I got to tell you, one fish looks pretty much like the other fish, but I still take a picture of every frickin' fish I catch. And so I don't necessarily have it's not quite as critical. So I might have a different type of hub that works for me. Is that a good way to look at it?
Yes. And it also, what you said was key, was how much access do you need to that hub? Who else needs access? But going back to the question that the person had originally. Okay, Bob again. Thank you, Bob. As far as which ones are best with your privacy and resolution, which are very important things that we look at when we look at a hub. We're looking at Backblaze, Dropbox. I would not look at Amazon and Google Photos. I just wouldn't. I would look at those as outputs, and let's have fun, and let's
so
play
interesting
and
to
not
look
worry,
at them as a sharing tool rather than as an archive and management tool. I mean, Amazon is recognizing already that they're facing huge scrutiny around their facial recognition, and they've decided to stop all facial recognition, certain services, for the next year, kind of a moratorium while they figure it out. Basically, they're just waiting for us to forget it and for something else more important to come along, so we're not noticing it anymore, I think. But it speaks. But it's so freaking convenient to be able to do a quick facial search. Like when I'm in Google Photos and I'm looking for a picture of my dog, just typing in Farley and having all of him come up. It's pretty convenient. It's amazing how that works. So. All right. Now, does this drive you crazy? I'm going to throw Jeanette under the bus. Must you go through all of the levels sequentially? I'm really only interested in level 3, but not level 2. So I'm looking for a shortcut for everything to be done.
Well, Jeanette, I'm with you because I am a mom of 5, and this is born out of necessity. I'm all about being functional. There's no time to mess around and all that. So absolutely not. When a person comes to me, or when you're doing this yourself, this is why it's there. It's you look at what's going to make it work for you. So if you do level 1, and in fact, this happens a lot. You go to level 1. I think this is the question you're asking. You have everything. You have that foundation, and then all you want to do is anything from level 3. Anything, you pick it. You say, I just want to keyword things. Go for it. You don't have to have a absolute core file structure. You have them all in one place, as long as they're all under one folder. And then inside you might have a big fat mess. And guess what? If that works for you, because you're going to be keywording things anyway, and it's just going to be searching that way, that's okay. The other thing is sometimes people, and this is one that is happening more and more because of the quantity, the volume of photos, and the convenience of having it on your phone that you can just go ahead and do it anywhere at any time. If you just pick your favorites, that's a level 3. If you're just picking your favorites and you're hearting the ones you like, I don't even care if you don't remove the ones you don't like, but at least you're able to put your hands on the ones you like. I'll tell you what, that's going to give you an advantage that you may not already have, and you may never have. And instead of wallowing in the despair and the frustration, just get it to where it is functional for you. But if you do nothing else, nothing else. If you can get everything in one hub and get it backed up, that's really the main message.
Eric's asking, and several people concurred that he says these methods apply to personal and family photos. What about professional photos when you need one photo amongst thousands? So really your stuff is designed more for, all of this is designed more for the personal use. Do you have many clients who are professionals? They should kind of, that's part of being a professional, is knowing how to manage the photos yourselves, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I use the same system for my personal folks as I do for my business folks. The difference, and Diana highlighted this on the third case study. The biggest difference is the keywording becomes a bigger thing. But to be honest with you, the main thing when it's the biggest difference, the only thing that's different really, as far as following this process of going through the levels and figuring out what's functional for you, the biggest difference when it comes to corporate clients and business clients is the overall, the hub, really, the overall system and the digital system, not whether it's going to have keywording or what else it's going to have. It's who's going to need access. Who are the team players? Are they remotely? Is your IT person over there and your design person there and your marketing person over there and the person that approves in the other state? Designing a system that everybody can have access to, and still preserving the integrity there, making sure that there's privacy and all that done. That's the key difference between working with personal and corporate clients. The fact of following the levels is exactly the same. The only difference is in the assessment, we're going to be talking about, again, basically that functional space. Who's involved? How does the system need to work for you? What do you need it to do?
So Peggy is asking whether or not the, not quite sure, but I accidentally double clicked on her. She was asking about the physical rating system, and she was saying, does this mean they're my favorites? Would a good way to look at those systems that you're putting in place, especially for the rating, be it doesn't matter whether it's your favorites or it's a good photos, or as long as you're consistent with your labeling?
That's it. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it doesn't matter. Some people use the stars and the whatever you want to use. My thing is the simpler, the better, so that it happens and that you're consistent. That's, like you said, Steve, main thing is consistent. It doesn't really matter. That's why if your time only allows you to get the best, select your favorites, then do that. Because later on, time changes. And these levels, it's flexible. Maybe right now, the only thing you can do is a couple of things in level 1, get to the priorities. And then maybe in another season of life, you can go back and keyword, but you're going to have that option because you've laid level 1 foundation. You have them in one place and they're backed up. Now you can go back anytime you want and do anything else. But whatever you do, make sure you have a system for those new baby photos that keep getting born every day almost, to add into your hub. And if you set it up with that automatic highway, it's going to be...
Carmen was asking about the physical photo webinar, which we did. So we did that a few weeks ago. And yes, it's available. If you're a patron, it's available in our Patreon archives. So it is one of the ones which is there. Okay, let me think. I'm just going through. I need a hub. Eric is like, I need a hub. And so on our weekend webinar, will we be actually recommending, because you very diplomatically didn't answer my question of recommending a hub. So on the weekend webinar, will we be actually sharing some tools that people can go and download and start to invest in their time and perhaps their money, and start to run their photos through systems, and they'll say, I'm going to choose to use, Photo Sweeper or this because you're going to share those ones with us?
Yes, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if both of those are happening on Saturday, but one will focus on the Apple ecosystem for those people that are all about using Mac and Apple Photos, it'll be in that world. And then the other one with Jordan, she's going to be talking about specific options for PC and Android users. So you can actually look at the different options and kind of the pros and cons of each of those
Excellent.
options.
We've got 3 minutes to go. Let's get through a couple more questions, and then we will try. And actually, I got to go back to our main chat here because those were the questions that I had identified. And I know what happens is I have 2 different windows, one where I can see the chat happening and one where I can see all the questions. And when I'm in one, I don't necessarily the other one. We done that? Oh, that's the problem there.
Nope. Haven't given okay.
I can see somebody was asking about, can an external hard drive be the hub? Absolutely. My hub is on an external hard drive, so yes.
A caveat with that, if you are using an external hard drive, you have to be extra careful that you are backing it up, that it is part of your backup system. Because if you're just using Backblaze, you have to make sure that Backblaze knows that there's an external hard drive there to back up. And so that's the only thing, that make sure that if you're using an external hard drive and that it's a good external hard drive. If this is your hub, that you know that all devices, just like the washing machine or whatever you have, can fail. So too can an external hard drive. So invest in a good one, solid state drive if possible. Just
ridiculous.
Get a good one.
Solid state drive is this big, and it's 2 terabytes.
They're tiny. They are tiny.
And
yes.
they're durable. And the other thing is that it's of a large enough size that you can grow, and especially keeping in mind that a lot of people with videos take up a lot of space, and sometimes, especially if it's a family movie thing that you've digitized, you may not want to put that inside of a photo management program. It may be just too heavy for it. But you can keep it still in that media command center or that external hard drive hub, so that you have your photo hub and you have a video hub. You can do that as well. So make sure, I would suggest that if you're doing an external hard drive, that you have one that's big enough and that's a durable kind, and that it's being backed up in your backup system.
So the process that people go, when people start on this, I'm just so that they can set like reasonable expectations. It's not a weekend cleaning out the garage project. They're kind of beginning on a 3 to 6 month odyssey before they feel that is that fair, or am I setting it? Do you feel like you're discouraging people by really coming clean about how big? Because like I know I've got thousands and thousands of photos, so it is not going to. But again, I guess it's going to depend on what your desired outcome is.
Well,
yeah.
That's it.
Yes.
Thank you,
That's
Steve.
it. Yeah. And are you trying to organize your entire life of pictures, or you just try and, and that should be the answer. But if, it took a whole lifetime to create this collection, right? So it's going to take more than a weekend to organize it. What? I was. But yes, but at the same time, we don't say all this to discourage people. I mean, if nothing else, we just want you to think about everything. Think about who you're going to share this with, who's going to be touching this. And maybe that thought process can be done in an afternoon, and you create the plan, and then you just download the checklist, start attacking your devices one by one. And before you know it, you can get everything onto one hard drive in a weekend absolutely. And that's a good start.
Guys, I just want to say one thing. The backup, 5 minutes. It may be a 6-month project, but the backup is 5 minutes. And that's the first thing, just you can get that done in 5 minutes. And the rest of it, you start at the bottom at whatever level and just grow from there. It's doable. I promise you, it's doable. And there are a lot of tools that you can do this a lot quicker, just depending, like Steve said, on the outcome that you want. So, and you could always grow later.
So April is going to drop the links in for we're calling it Android, but it's the non-Apple and the Apple world. Which one of you is doing which lesson for us?
No, it's our colleague, Jordan.
Jordan is going to do the one on PC Android. And then Paul and Isabel will be
different people
on the one.
I know you guys are going to be in the
Apple
chat and helping out and answering questions.
Yes.
Yeah, good. I hope so. I hope so, because you started. It's your fire starters now. You started, and we have so many questions. We can't get through everybody's questions right now, but that's really what the weekend is for, is to get into the nitty gritty details and to talk about the specific products. So I'm going to wrap things up. I'm going to call it a day here because normally we stick around and we say we're going to answer every question, but there's an hour's worth of questions. So I apologize. I'm glad that it's obviously a topic that's near and dear to people. We now have resources that you can start thinking about it. And April is dropping the links for this weekend. Let's make sure we also get your guys. Have we dropped your website so people can get directly in touch with each of you as well? If not, you can just drop them. Each one of you drop your own website in the chat for me while I let people know. So tomorrow morning there'll be an email with this replay, any resources that they've come up with and shared with us that have been mentioned during the webinar, as well as contact information for our guests that have been so illuminating today. That will be available to you tomorrow. On Saturday, we have 2 new webinars, one on the non-Apple world and one on the Apple world. The non-Apple one starts at 9 a.m. Pacific, so that's noon Eastern. And then the second one starts 2 hours later, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. So I'm going to be sitting here all day Saturday talking about photos. So it's going to be, and you know, it's like I'm just going to be feeling guilty the whole time because I haven't done that. I got to do that. That's another thing I have to do. But it's good for us all. And you know what I find fascinating? One of the things that's most fun is before Kathy introduced herself to me, I had no idea that people could make their living helping other people organize their photos. And I got to say, I just freaking love that. I think that's just awesome. It has to be a pretty rewarding job for you guys, doesn't it?
It is.
It's a lot of fun, actually. I mean, you get to know somebody, you know, from their entire history in a matter of
you probably get pretty close to your clients pretty quickly, or you realize they're real jerks.
Mm-hmm.
I would take a picture of that. I get that from my wife.
No,
why would you take a picture of me like that? Because it's funny.
We may see a few of those.
Sylvia and Diane, thank you so much. And Kathy, wherever you are, I know you're still in here somewhere. Thank you very much. April, who has been managing all of our chat. I hope that you folks all found this to be incredibly valuable and enjoyable. There will be a continuation of this weekend. And I look forward to seeing everybody again next time on Webinar Wednesday. Next week, we're talking YouTube. Next week, we just hit 300,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel. So we're going to be talking about the lessons that we learned and what I wish I'd known when I started my YouTube channel. So we're going to be kind of diving into details there. So we're looking for that. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys. It was you really brought a lot of value. You brought I can tell that the community loved it. So thank you. Till next time.
Thank you. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Steve.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.